Akanda mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshidam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnana timirandhasya jnananjanam shalakaya chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat ParaBrahman tasmai Shri Gurave Ganapathy. Today I am going to touch upon a rather, in a way, simple but a little difficult subject. For me, Upanishads are a little more easier to handle than something like Ganapathy as a symbol, Ganesha. But then, everything we start in this country starts with Ganesha. It's called Vigneshwara. So if somebody starts something without going down to Vigneshwara, then if some trouble comes, they say, see, you haven't bowed down to Vigneshwara. So this is why this has happened. So it's such a popular deity. We tend to think that this is only popular in India. But if you go into archaeology, you will find that Ganesha is found in ancient times in Afghanistan, Bali, Thailand, Malaysia, Japan, China. There is no country in that area where Ganesha has not been a symbol of Gananatha and Vigneshwara. The earliest Vedic text, the Rig Veda, at the very outset declares something which is very important for us to understand the symbology of all the gods and goddesses. In the Hindu system of thought, there are supposed to be 33 crores of gods. Now, to understand these 33 crores, you must know the root of all this. So you should go to the earliest literature available on this subject, which of course is the Rig Veda. The Rig Veda declares, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. There is one truth. Ekam Sat, there is one reality. Vipra Bahuda Vedanti, but the wise or the learned ones call it by different names. Now this is the basis of why there are innumerable symbols for the manifestations of divinity, and even the small inanimate objects, even the trees and the snakes and everything is worshipped as a manifestation of divinity, of that one supreme Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. Bahuda Vedanti, many names, call them by many names. So you must understand this basis. Now, Ganesha, for instance, invoking whom we start all our activities, has a form and a shape and a symbol. But in spite of all the symbols, when the scriptures refer to Ganesha, in the Ganesha Sthavam, which we all might be knowing, Ajam Nirvikalpam Nirakaramekam Niranandam Anandam Advaita Purnam Param Nirgunam Nirvishesham Deham ParaBrahma Rupam Ganesham Bhajema. So, although we show Ganesha with a form, is recognized as Ajam Nirvikalpam Nirakaramekam. Nirvikalpam means without any forms or definitions, without any impurities. It's actually, you can also say Nirmalam. and Anandam and Advaitam and Purnam, which actually is a description of the Supreme Brahman. So in the last Shloka, ParaBrahma Rupam Ganesham Bhajema. So this Ganesha is being symbolized as a manifestation of that ParaBrahman, which reflects Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. So when you go down to Ganesha, don't think I am going down to any myth. Think that you are going down to a manifestation of that ParaBrahman, the Supreme. Now, the many symbols and many gods represent various phases and manifestations of that one single divine energy. So happens that Ganesha is the symbol or devata of the Mooladhara Chakra. Now I have to describe a little bit about this. In yoga and in Yoga Tantra, also in Tantra Yoga, apart from the physical organism of the human being, it is described that it is said that there is a physio-psychological system of nadis inside the human system, inside the human organism. And this are the three nadis which are called Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. Now this is inside the human body. The lowest end of the Sushumna, where both the Ida and Pingala join together, is known as the Mooladhara. Mooladhara means Moola Adharam, root foundation. That means it is the foundation on which the rest of the human organism is built up. Now from the Mooladhara to the Sahasrara, there are, starting counting Mooladhara in and counting the Sahasrara also, 7 centers. These 7 centers are the centers of the ascent of consciousness from the grossest level to the subtler level till it reaches the subtlest level here. And each therefore represents a level of consciousness which is finer than the other. So the grossest and that which is related to the earth, therefore represented by the Prakriti Tattva, is the Mooladhara. And the Mooladhara is actually symbolized in it sits Ganesha with his elephant head. Now therefore Ganesha is the symbol of the root of human consciousness as it appears on this earth, the solid earth which is called Prakriti. Although we have lofty thoughts, we are actually centered in this Ganesha, on this earth. We may have any lofty thoughts, but when we are hungry, all lofty thoughts disappear and the thought of eating comes into our mind. Sex, food, drink, all this is part of the Mooladhara Chakra's function. And when it is sublimated and activated, this same energy begins to move upward along the Sushumna and reach the Sahasrara Chakra. When the yogi experiences what is known as Samadhi, where he is one with the center of his consciousness, which is a spark of the ParaBrahman. This is the whole process of yoga. And Ganesha has to be invoked first, because the whole thing starts from the Mooladhara. Because you have to start with the root foundation, the root, Moola. Otherwise you cannot go up to the fruit. So therefore, from the point of view of Yoga and Tantra, Ganesha is always worshipped in the Mooladhara Chakra internally, and therefore externally as sitting in an yellow colored background in a square behind. That is the yantra. Then, that's one. Now, all Puranas say that Ganesha was born from the dirt of Parvati's body, the earth that came out of Parvati's body, which again means earth, which means he belongs to the Mooladhara, which means he belongs to Prithvi, he belongs to the solid thing which we call earth and around which our whole consciousness usually dissolves, revolves, and therefore anything we need to do auspiciously on this earth, we need to invoke this Ganesha, who is a symbol, who has come out of the very earth which we use for our worship, on which we stand, in which we eat. Therefore, Parvati is Shakti. Parvati is a representation of Shakti, who is considered to be the daughter of Himavan. As the Kena Upanishad says, Bahushobhamanam, very beautiful. This is the feminine part of the human organism, which is Shakti, which is also a symbol of the Kundalini, which lies coiled 3.5 times on the Mooladhara Chakra. And therefore, when Ganesha presides over it, it means that the Shakti and Ganesha are so linked and close to each other because Ganesha was created from the dirt, from the skin of Parvati. It's such a profound symbol. It's actually the beginning of transcendence of consciousness from the gross to the subtle represented by Ganesha. Then, elephant. The whole body, look at the whole body of Ganesha. Well fed, well placid and very happy. But the head is that of an elephant. Now this elephant, there are many Puranic stories of how the head was cut off by Shiva in a fit of anger and was replaced by an elephant's head and so on. Now you see, elephant is an ancient symbol of energy, power, greatness, bigness and obedience. In fact, in the ancient times, if you owned an elephant, it's like owning a Mercedes now. It was such a symbol of greatness and bigness. All great people came on elephants. They traveled on elephants. Elephants went to battle. To own an elephant was considered to be a great prestige. And therefore the elephant is represented as a symbol of all bigness, largeness, strength. And in spite of all that, an elephant from the point of view of its own personal life considers ahimsa as paramo dharma. It does not kill any animal to fulfill its stomach. It's a pure vegetarian. It also dispels the myth that a vegetarian cannot be strong. Then an elephant must be very weak. See, people think that, if you don't, it's all nonsense. I know many people. Also, the elephant is a perfect symbol of that. He may, to protect himself, do something in fear that he is being killed, but otherwise it's a pretty harmless animal. I have a place in Bandipur in the forest which is surrounded by elephants. Unless you go and stand before it and try to become a hero, nothing will happen. Elephants usually come, look through the wall and go quietly. They are very intelligent animals and they have such tremendous strength. The stories about the tiger and the lion jumping onto the head of an elephant and taking out the brains is only there in the comic books. It doesn't happen. It's not possible. Now, therefore, Ganesha's head represents that strength, infinite potential and greatness, but gentleness in the form of an elephant. Then the stomach, where he seems to sit totally fulfilled. Now let me ask you, apart from sleep, a good sleep after you're tired, and if you are young and energetic, sex, what is the thing that most satisfies everybody? Why is it that we want to influence somebody, we bring him home and give him a meal? Because the tongue and the stomach are very, very important organs of a human being. You can influence a human being by giving him or her the food that she or he really likes. Which is why when Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami first went to England, he used to have his bhajans. There were very few people. And then more people started coming, because after the bhajan there was excellent prasad. He himself was a good cook. So this thing about having a good meal represents full satisfaction. You know that Annadana is considered to be the best because any other dana people are not satisfied. You give money, you can keep on giving money. They'll say, give me more, you give food, after some time you can press them, but they'll say, yo money, I cannot eat more than this. For the time being, they are fully satisfied. So that beautiful tummy and that wonderful sign of prosperity is a sign, a symbol of complete fulfillment and happiness sitting there. Now, there is a story in the Purana that Kubera, who was supposed to be the richest man in the world and who had everything that he thought he had, was so proud of his wealth and his wherewithals that he decided one day to give Ganapathy so much food that he will bust his tummy. So the story is that he was invited and Kubera gave him food, so he ate. Then all the food was finished and he said, some more? Yeah, some more. So they had to bring in everything they could find all over the three worlds to feed Ganapathy, and his stomach was quite full and he was happily sitting there saying, I'm still not satisfied. Until Kubera realized that you are trying to feed the infinite, which is impossible to do. That again is another symbol of Ganesha. Then of course there is the symbology of Ganesha. Many people have looked carefully at the picture, especially sideways, and seen a resemblance of Om in the trunk and the face. You do in Sanskrit like this. This represents the trunk, and this the head, from where the trunk comes. If you write in Tamil, from the side it really looks like Ganesha. Om is written in Tamil like this, with a small. You turn it around and it looks exactly like the face of Ganesha. One wonders if they wrote it deliberately to show that Ganesha is representing Om, which is the symbol of the ParaBrahman. Now, the contrast. Ganesha is big, well fed. His head is that of an elephant. But what is his vahana, his vehicle? It's a small mouse, a rat, a lowly rat that usually comes out nocturnally, eats what is under the earth and sits quietly waiting for his food. Can you imagine an elephant riding a rat? Now, this is an ancient symbol of saying that the highest can be found and carried by the lowest. A humble creature like the rat is the vahana of the greatest thing called Ganesha, with an elephant's head. It's a contrast between an elephant and a rat. Now this contrast, if one understands, it is a pointer that if I as a human being may be very small and limited, but I have the potential to carry the whole ParaBrahman as the universe in my heart. Potential. This is the symbol of the rat the lowly rat which moves around especially at night, forages for food in the dustbin, and sits as a vahana of a person whose stomach is full and who is always happy, with the head of an elephant. This contrast should be particularly noted in the case of Ganesha. Then, you see the symbol of Ganesha as you look at the picture. In one hand, you will find something like this. It's called a pasham. A pasham is a noose, N-O-O-S-E, noose. And the other holds an ankusha. An ankusha means a goad. Ankusha. You use it to poke, to make people do the work. In elephant's case, it's used to poke the fingers so that it moves. Ankusha, a goad, G-O-A-D. The expression goad one to do something comes from a goad. Now, pasham in one hand, ankusha in the other, modagam in one hand, and one hand in blessing. Now, all these are profound symbols. The pasham is the noose with which the divinity, if it lays its eyes on someone and wants that person to be attracted to one, throws and pulls. Without that noose, no one can be pulled towards divinity. Pasham. Among the Naths, it is used in the reverse fashion because Shiva carries a noose also. So that noose, they say, is the noose to free us from the noose of the world. Pashupasha vimukta. But here, it is a symbol of drawing you towards him, that noose. And God, to push you to do good things, even if you are not ready for it. Then there is the modagam in the hand, which the rat is eyeing all the time. Modagam is a sweet. It also means satisfaction. Full satisfaction. It is the fruit of wisdom, of the understanding of the Brahman, that Ganapathy holds as a symbol in his hand as the modagam. It's a sweet, very sweet symbol. You eat it, you are caught in the noose and you will be taken upwards if you are ready to put your head there. Then look closely and you will see that every Ganesha has a third eye here, where it is marked. That again is a symbol of the ajna Chakra, which I described in the 7 centers I referred to, I didn't describe. From Mooladhara to the Sahasrara. The 6th center is the one between the eyebrows, and it's called the Ajna Chakra, the eye of wisdom, which when open, one sees beyond what one can see with one's physical eyes and penetrates into the dimensions of higher wisdom and spiritual oneness. Then we have this beautiful story to show what Ganesha represents. There is a lovely story in the Puranas that once when Shiva and Parvathi were trying to figure out who can move the fastest and go around the world the fastest, Subramanya, who is also their son, Kartikeya, got on to his peacock and flew off, saying, "Let me finish and come before my fat little brother can do anything." And Ganesha is supposed to have just gone round Shiva and Parvati 3 times. He come back and said, "I have finished my journey. Give me the fruit." Shiva said, "How?" He said, "Because you are the whole universe. Why should I go all over the universe? If I go around you, That is more than enough. So Ganesha therefore is a symbol of that real aspirant, sincere aspirant who knows that there is no point in going all over the world searching for happiness, but that you need to just go around the Shivam, Chidananda Rupam, Shivoham, Shivoham, who sits inside our heart. This is a very profound symbol of Ganesha. Then you have, he is called Vinayaka, he is called Vigneshwara, he is called Ganapathy. Now Ganapathy has many meanings. Ganapathy also, one meaning is he is the head of all the Ganas, which means the Ganas are those companions of Shiva, and they are mostly ghosts and ghouls and all kinds of things from the cremation grounds, because Shiva lives in the cremation grounds. And Ganapathy is appointed as the head of all these Ganas, which means he is symbolized as that energy of the Supreme who is in control of all the assistants, the Gurkhas who work under him. He is the chief of the Gorkha regiment of Shiva. Now, that is another meaning of Ganapathy. The other is Pati of Gananam, calculations, mathematics. That means he is the planner of the universe. Then Vigneshwara, the one who removes all obstacles from you. Then if you look closely at the symbol of Ganesha, you will find, you would have heard the story, that when Vedavyasa wanted to compile the Vedas, he invoked Ganesha too. So instead of using an ordinary pen, he broke one tusk and used it as a pen. This is a great symbol. He demonstrates what is known as a pen is mightier than the sword. Instead of that, the tusk is mightier than the sword. He uses his tusk as a pen. Now, a tusk is usually used for protecting oneself. Instead of that, with great self-sacrifice, he breaks his tusk and uses it for vidya, to give knowledge to others. That again, how many people are ready to do this? Now this again is a great symbol of sacrificing all one's faculties for giving knowledge to others. Then Ganesha is usually represented as having two Shaktis, two consorts. One is Siddhi and the other is Buddhi. Siddhi Buddhi. According to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the extraordinary capacities and powers that a yogi acquires when the connection between his Mooladhara and Sahasrara is established are called the Ashtasiddhis, Garima, Laghima, Mahima and so on. Now therefore, Ganapathy is also Ashtaganapathy because he represents the 8 Siddhis, which is the sign of a completed yogi who has reached a samadhi where he has gone through all these Siddhis. So one wife is Siddhi, one consort. The other consort is Buddhi. Purified intelligence is Buddhi, not mere intelligence. So it again represents the clarity of a spiritual aspirant whose buddhi has been, whose intelligence has been completely purified. Now these are the symbolic aspects of Ganesha. Therefore, before starting anything, even great sages have always first bowed down to Ganapathy. But in the south we have this, especially in the south, we have this custom of breaking a coconut for Ganapathy. So that also we should understand. Now, this land, especially Kerala, I think is named after the keram, which is the coconut. It's such in Kerala, nobody wastes any part of a coconut. You use the kernel to eat, you drink the water, you use the shell as fuel, you take the husk for rope, you use the wood when it is destroyed afterwards, when it becomes old, for rafters, and you use the leaves for thatch. So and what comes out of a dry coconut kernel is the oil that you use. There is no part of a coconut tree which is wasted. Everything is valuable in this state, at least here. And in the olden days, now it is not there so much, nobody would cut a coconut tree even to build a house. If they built a house around a coconut tree, they would leave a hole for the coconut tree to grow. Plus, if they can do nothing about it. Now this is ancient wisdom which the environmentalists now in their modern thinking want to happen. If they had to cut a tree for a foundation, that art is almost gone. They would dig out the tree from the roots, transport it to another pit and replant it so that it grows there. They wouldn't destroy a coconut tree. It's gone nowadays, who cares? Coconut tree. So, therefore you can imagine how valuable the coconut is. Now, to offer what is most valuable to one as an offering to God before you, as a symbol of God, before you start anything, is the breaking of the coconut. It also, if you look at the coconut, the water of the coconut is totally protected from bacteria, from infection, everything, because it is completely covered. You are offering that valuable thing to Ganapathy as an offering. Please don't keep any vignas in front of me so that I can move forward. So these are the great symbols for which Ganesha or Vigneshwara stands.